Training, if you stick it for long term, it will definitely help you to face your social anxiety, and I'm really confident that it will play a big part in helping you overcome it. Obviously, depending on how bad you want to improve, how much you want to improve your confidence, and how hard you work on your fears and with socializing and practicing and getting used to being acceptant or comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And obviously, you're not going to feel uncomfortable around people all the time. That's not really plausible. There's going to be a lot of times if you're a shy person and you're like the way that I was when I was in my early 20s, and a lot of my clients are at the start of coaching when I work with them, it's going to be very daunting for you, holding eye contact, talking to people, not panicking, not stuttering, not stammering, not fidgeting, not shutting down, not overthinking, not being worried, not being scared of someone shouting at you or disagreeing with you, or being confrontational, or even being afraid of people being nice to you. All these feelings and fears are very normal that you're going to have to work through. So the reason why I figured this out, I didn't figure this out, I don't think on purpose, but I loved boxing growing up. I used to watch it with my dad. My dad introduced me to boxing, and it was something that I wanted to prove to myself, because of being bullied at school and being bullied around my area at a certain point, all throughout my teens, until I started to stand up to the bullying. I've said in my videos before, by the time I started to stand up to bullying and I put a stop to it, the damage was already done. My self-esteem was affected, and it affected me later on in life, and it caused me to have a lot of mental health problems, a lot of paranoia, a lot of overthinking, a lot of trust issues, a lot of anxiety, a lot of nervousness, a lot of shame, a lot of embarrassment. So for me, initially, I wanted to go to the boxing gym because I wanted to prove that I was tough. I could look after myself and prove to myself that I was a man, right? Whatever that means, that we can go into all different directions, but we have a certain understanding when you're young. You want to impress people, it's natural, and you want to be respected by fellow men and women and people in society. So I initially came into the gym, obviously with a chip on my shoulder, and being hurt and being having insecurities. And so my biggest fear was the actual boxing, was the sparring and the fighting. Before I'd even get to even imagine having an amateur boxing fight, I had to conquer the fear of sparring. I was terrified of that, right? Obviously, when you're at home and when I was watching Nigel Benn on television and Tyson and Lennox Lewis and Calzaghe, the idea of sparring is so exciting. When you're out of when you're not in the sparring and you're at home watching TV or with friends, it's easy to fantasize and get excited about the idea of doing it because you don't have to do it right then, and you're not dealing with fight or flight. But when I actually went into the gym, the first time I went to the Stowe Club, boxing gym off the Harrow Road near where I live, when I walked in the gym and I was around all the real fighters and the boxers and the trainers, my legs turned to jelly. I was so frightened, I was so nervous, I was so insecure about being exposed in front of everyone, losing, getting knocked out, not being able to fight, looking awkward. All my insecurities, all my inhibitions came up, and I was like, oh, this is not a nice feeling. I felt sick in my stomach. And the feeling that I had was I want to hide. I don't want to do the sparring. I don't want to fight. The adrenaline took over, and it was more like I wanted to compromise with my fear and say, look, well, I'll do the sparring another day. Let me just hit the bag, hit the pads, because the bags and the pads, although it's tiring when you're not fit, they don't hit you back. But deep down, when I was leaving the gym, I felt like a coward because I knew that I really wasn't facing the truth in regards to what I was afraid of, and that was the full contact sparring. So eventually I did find the courage, and I did ask the trainer, and they did put me in, and I tried to knock the guy out. I tried to use street fighting. It didn't work, and I didn't get knocked out, but I got pretty much knocked out. I got knocked down by someone much younger than me. And I was embarrassed, and I felt completely humiliated. But it was the best thing that happened to me, because the worst happened that I was afraid of, and that was losing and getting dropped, getting put on my ass in front of other people by someone even younger than me. And after that, really, although I left the gym feeling defeated like a coward, I could build on that. I could build on my confidence. And then later on, I actually felt better. I felt proud of myself for having the courage to go through with it and actually face it. And it was more, it wasn't really the guy that I was in the ring with and getting hurt that I was afraid of. It was my own emotions. It was the fear. It was the adrenaline. It was the panic. It was the feeling that my life's in danger. It was the sickly feeling that I was more frightened of. I later learned that. So bringing this back to social anxiety, I stuck at the gym and I trained at the All Stars for quite a while. And then I went and changed. I went to Fitzroy Lodge. All the gyms helped me. I'm grateful for all the trainers. They changed my life. And it was the same in Fitzroy Lodge. I was 20 years of age. I was shy when I walked in the gym. I got introduced. There was a really nice guy. I'm not going to say his name because I don't want him to think I want anything from him. But he was a famous guy, ex-professional and a journalist. And I was training in a weightlifting gym in Bayswater, Queensway with a friend. And there was a punching bag there and I was messing around on the bag and he saw me and he said, "Oh, you're pretty talented. Do you box?" And I said, "No, I'd like to box. I did a little bit of boxing. I haven't had a fight yet." He said, I'll introduce you to my old amateur boxing gym down South London." I said, "Oh," I was so happy. And this guy was amazing. He was in his 30s at the time and I was 20. So he was a lot older than me. So I looked up to him, I respected him, and he used to do a little bit of light sparring with me just to kind of give me some confidence. And I'd watch him on the bag, he'd give me tips. So eventually he brought me down to Fitzroy Lodge. He introduced me to the gym, and that kind of got me in the gym. And that the guys were, they're nice to anyone who comes in who's respectful, but I guess they're a bit more open with me because I was introduced by the ex-boxer who was well respected and had come from that gym, and they knew him. He was a journalist for boxing. So introducing me to the gym was life-changing because I still had the terrible fear of sparring. And in Fitzroy Lodge, I think it was every Tuesday and Thursday we would spar, and on a Friday there'd be no sparring, and I would always be like petrified of sparring on those days. I'd be getting the train, I lived at my nan's at the time, and I'd be getting the train on the Bakerloo line, and as it was getting closer to Lambeth, I'd feel sick and I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't get food down me because I was so nervous I knew I was going to spar. And that was always so frightening, and I was always scared of getting tired in the sparring, throwing up, getting beaten up, and mainly getting tired and just having those emotions. So it was a struggle for me, and I was really nervous. I think I was probably more nervous than everyone else. I really didn't react well to the sparring, but they toughened me up, and they built my confidence up, and I got a little bit better each time, and I actually got a bit more hardy to taking a punch. I got my nose busted, I got black eyes, I got roughed up, and it really did, in a good way, it made me stronger. And then I started to, it's not really about winning and losing in sparring, but you kind of know when you've got the better of someone. So I got the better of some of the people that were beating me up. So it's so good to learn, the art of kind of like losing and winning. But like I said, I didn't realize later on, my talent wasn't to go on and be a champion boxer. That just wasn't meant to be for me. Although I had one amateur fight, which I'm proud of. I lost. I have no excuses. I got beaten by the better man, but at least I did it. And that was a big goal of mine, to have at least one fight. I did loads of sparring though, with professionals, amateurs, just keep fitters, people at my level. And I really did improve, with the boxing, and I got in great shape, especially when I had my amateur fight. I was absolutely just so fit. I was always quite slim at those times anyway. I was never overweight. I always kind of had a six pack and was quite skinny, but in great shape. But mentally and emotionally, the shape that the boxing got me into was like nothing that I'd ever achieved before. Doing training on my own. So just being around boxers and trainers, being in that environment changed me. Surprisingly enough, because my background was being bullied and then fighting back, and I never really looked for fights, but I got into lots of street fights growing up, and I'm not advocating that on this channel at all, right? I'm just telling you this is the truth. So the more I did boxing, I didn't get into fights anymore. That's interesting, isn't it? I got into more fights and more trouble when I didn't box. I didn't learn self-defense. When I learnt this stuff and I did sparring in the gym, I think it's because I wasn't projecting paranoia anymore. I wasn't worried that someone might start me. I weren't going to these bars and drinking and occasionally taking drugs and going into these environments where it's likely that this is going to happen, and projecting that, and feeling that I need to compete with other men. I calmed down. I got a lot more relaxed and didn't get into fights hardly ever. So it stopped me getting into fights, which is brilliant. Kept me on a straight and narrow. And this is the part that I'm more excited about. All those times I was boxing, I had insecurities with women. I always wanted a girlfriend. I was struggling with employment, with making money. I had some friends, but I was struggling to make more friends, speaking, all the things that I deep down wanted to do, traveling. I just had so much social fears. So later on, I didn't realize, of course, the confidence that I gained from being in the boxing gym, the sparring, even losing my amateur fight, and just the weeks and months and the years of training, all that consistency. Later on, I didn't realize it gave me the confidence to get a girlfriend. It gave me the confidence to face my fear of people. It gave me the confidence to start a business. It definitely gave me the confidence to do public speaking. Because when I first did public speaking, I panicked again. It was exactly the same experience that I experienced when I first sparred, where I froze up, fight or flight. I couldn't deal with it, and I couldn't really throw punches. I got stuck. And the same experience happened with the public speaking. And I knew when it happened, I've been through this before, I can overcome this. I just have to keep showing up, working through these anxieties, and that's what happened. I got really good at public speaking, gained more confidence, eventually earned more money, got a girlfriend, moved out of my parents' place, made positive friends, and it turned my life around. So look, I'm not going to exaggerate. I'm not saying boxing did all that, but it did a lot. It helped a lot. And I honestly think if I didn't go through that, if I didn't go through the amateurs, and I didn't get around boxing and the clubs and get the help and support and be around it, I don't know if I could have got through the mental health challenges that I had. I can't know for sure. It would have been a lot harder. Maybe I wouldn't have done it. So that's where my passion comes. I think most of you know now, I'm 39. I'm not trying to be a boxer. I'm not a boxer. I used to be a boxer. I use boxing to keep fit. I love it. You guys can see in my videos. You can't fake that. I love it. I'm passionate. I like hitting the bag, working out, because it gets you in great shape. So the goal is to share my passion for boxing and to get as many people who follow me on my channel, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, to go and do it for yourself. And you don't have to do boxing. I would be happy if you guys did boxing, but even if you did weights, just exercise. I love fitness, like I said. It's something that I always did before any of you guys knew me, before I built this brand and I was a teacher and a confidence coach. I got into it at a very young age. It's actually the first person I remember that introduced me to fitness was my dad. I forget that sometimes. He got me doing press-ups, sit-ups, dumbbell curls, shadow boxing, a little bit of sparring with him. He introduced me to the foundation, and it was watching Bruce Lee, Schwarzenegger, Lee Haney that made me go further into the bodybuilding and then eventually get into the gyms. So I love fitness. I've always loved it. It means so much to me, and I like talking to other people that feel the same way. Like I said, it doesn't have to be boxing, because I love bodybuilding, I love weights, I've got such a passion for that. But I have to be honest, if I had to make a choice, what is my favourite out of all exercises, it's boxing #1. But again, everyone's different. So as long as you watch the videos and you go and get fit and lose weight or get in shape, or mostly gain confidence. So yeah, I use boxing training as a tool to build confidence, maintain it, and to install confidence in my clients. So this will help loads of you for free, but when I do my paid programs, when I work people on the 1-year program or 6 weeks program and help them with their confidence, this is one of the things that I explain to them. And many of them are doing it. I work with some people that are already personal trainers, but all my clients that are doing the 1-year program, they train, they're in great shape, because when you're in great shape, it makes it so much easier to overcome social anxiety. It gives you confidence in all areas of life. If you want to get a new job, if you want to get over your nerves of dates, relationships, all those things. And I can explain now why boxing and the confidence and the mindset and the character and the dedication, why that translates into all areas, because it's the same practice. It's getting more control over your own emotions. And it's being consistent, it's being able to deal with challenges, with fear, with anxiety, and use it in a positive way. So it's the same sort of training, it's just a different avenue. So most business people and entrepreneurs, they will tell you, if you get a chance to sit down and speak to them or watch a podcast, that the biggest challenge is facing their emotions, dealing with the emotions of managing people or coaching or speaking or building a brand or making money or losing money, investing money. It's an emotional, these are emotional things, and you need to be mentally and emotionally strong to succeed in business or even in relationships and dating. What's the biggest challenge that people have in relationships? Emotions. Their emotions get triggered. The same for all of us. So boxing, if you do it long term, and look, it's very hard to be depressed and to fall into weakness and insecurity when you're fit and you're not overweight and you're in shape and you're eating healthy and you're training, and when you're enjoying it like I am, when you love it and it's a passion, then you're in a great place. So like I said, I've used boxing at many pivotal stages of my life where I've fallen into depression, anxiety, mental health, and it's lifted me out of that place, and I've used it once again, and I want to do it as long as I can, and share it on this channel. So that's why I put out all these clips. That's what it means to me. And yeah, there's no end to how much you can improve your life. So hopefully people will understand the message. I know a lot of you do. I know some people, it's not always easy, because when you're watching a video on social media, you can't always understand what the person's trying to say and get across. You can have your own interpretation, and that's not always correct. So that's why I like the challenge of re-explaining it and going kind of deep into it and what it's done for me and what it means to me. And it still means a lot to me now, even though it was 20 odd years that I first went into the gyms in London and was kind of I was getting over my fears and phobia of everything, of people, of training, of sparring, fighting, dating, in the business world, and even now being able to speak in front of the camera, the confidence that I've got to do this and teach and inspire, most of that I attribute that to the days in the gym with the sparring, because it was so frightening for me, and even though I loved it, that it makes most of the things pretty easy that I do. It makes doing these videos pretty easy, it makes traveling quite easy, it makes asking a woman out quite easy. It can be challenging at times even for me, and it makes teaching really manageable, because there's not much in life that has scared me more and intimidated and made me go into fight or flight than sparring and fighting and performing in front of crowds of people. So public speaking is close, but it's not as scary as going in the ring and sparring with someone. And they say that sparring is not fighting. I don't always agree on that. It depends on how hard you're going in sparring, because I had sparring sessions that were actually harder than my amateur fight. My amateur fight weren't that hard. I mean, it didn't last that long. I got stopped, but it didn't really hurt that. I didn't really feel it. But I've had sparring sessions that have been brutal, where it's like a fight with a head guard and gloves on, and you get your nose busted, you're hitting it, you're going all out. But after that, the respect that you have for one another is just unbelievable, and the friendships that you build, and how it toughens your character up. It definitely makes you have more respect for people. And I always remind my clients it's important to have respect for women, because I know that some guys don't, and I know they've got their reasons, and I'm not going to agree on it. And so it gives you a better attitude and outlook on everything. It really does. But of course, you're not going to get all these benefits if you just go once and you quit. You've got to do it for months. And that's why I keep putting the videos out, to demonstrate and illustrate what consistency really looks like. At least in the small clips that you're seeing, the workouts that I do are between an hour and 2 hours. So you're only seeing a little clip, right? And I do upload some longer videos. I might, at some point, get a cameraman to film like an entire workout. I know people are not always going to watch a whole workout, so the clips are more convenient for people, but some people might. Anyway, let me know in the box below if my videos have helped you to start training. It doesn't have to be boxing, but if it is boxing, let me know in the box below. Lots of you have reached out, it's meant a lot to me. I've loved it, to help a lot of people on Instagram and different videos, and I had quite a few young guys stop me on the street, said that they started training because of my video. It's a great feeling, all right? So I'll speak to you guys soon, fearless.